All right, traders. Hope you guys are good and welcome to this week's segment of our weekly market breakdowns. Without wasting any time, I'm going to start by looking at EURAUD, and this is a quick update on EURAUD. We're currently in a downtrend. We had this strong impulsive movement that formed this low, and then we had this period of correction, which went to the upside to test the supply zone over here. Now, the market has been creating lower highs and lower lows, dropping towards the downside. If we zoom in, you'll see that I was expecting, and I think we've discussed this in previous video, I was expecting the market to fill in the entire fair value gap that's found over here, but the market reversed right here, as you can see. So because of this, the market filled in some of the orders and it's ready to drop towards the downside. Now, if you look at what we are seeing right here, yes, we're in a downtrend. Yes, orders have been filled and we are net bearish, but this demand right here is still in control. However, I don't think it's a strong zone. So I do think that eventually the market is going to break it. And the market has incentive to break it. Why? Because there's liquidity over here in the form of equal lows. And also there's this fair value gap right here that the market has to fill. If you're new here and if all I'm speaking is gibberish and you don't understand what's going on, I have a series that explains everything called the smart money concept. Find it on my channel page, right? But for the old OGs who are coming on this channel frequently, you understand exactly what I'm talking about. So yes, all in all, long-term downtrend, the trend is allowing where the market is situated, it's allowing. Let's see what the weekly and the daily are saying. Now, if you look at the weekly, let's look at this range over here. Right now, the market recently tapped into this equilibrium zone, right? Filling in this gap over here, although it didn't go all the way. I think it reversed from this failed demand zone over here, right? And now it's going to the downside, right? Now, before it reversed from this failed demand, you can see that it tried to form an uptrend, right? And I do believe that this uptrend was in the form of an induction. It wasn't a true trend, right? How do you know if something is an induction? How do you know if a trend that's forming in the market is a counter trend and it's not a trend that you should be following? Number one thing that you will see is that the size of that trend will be small compared to the trend that came before it. That's one way of seeing it. Number two, the impulses of the trend will not be as strong as the previous impulse. Number three, it will always seek to fill in a fair value gap, right, from orders that were unfilled. Once you see all of those things, then you should think about whether or not what you're seeing is actually an induction. And because of that, we had a breakout of that trend line, and now the market is going towards the downside, right? Let's go to the daily. On the daily, there's a lot going on here. Let me just remove this. This is from the monthly. Now, as you can see, the market formed this induction, took this liquidity, went into this zone right here, which is a zone that formed this fair value gap that's dropping towards the downside, right? And before this zone, you can see that the market grabbed liquidity, right, from this high, luring retail traders to buy, and then formed a divergence. After forming a divergence, tapped into the zone, and then to sort of like close the deal to this, we got a change of character. So the market broke that low. Now, as a result, we went to the downside, right? This was aligned with what we saw on the higher time frame. It's aligned with the higher time frame trend, right? Which is confirmation that the bears are now getting back into the market, right? Now you have an impulse and we're in a period where there is correction. right? Meaning I'm expecting a breakout below this lows over here. And then after the breakout, I'm going to be selling and taking my profit on this area of liquidity, which is our low. As you can see right here, the market is creating liquidity, generating liquidity, right? I always say when you see a consolidation, the one thing you should think about is liquidity, that the market is generating liquidity, right? So there's liquidity here, here, here. First of all, the market can take out the liquidity, the buy side liquidity here, and then tap into the zone over here, and then drop towards the downside. Or we can get a breakout from this low, and then the market can find an order block right here, and then drop towards the downside. But I think the first scenario is more likely, right? So I think the market will reverse from the zone over here. But that's just my thoughts on Euro AUD. Let's see how the market performs during the week. And I'll update the VIP clients. If you want to get signals, make sure that you hit me up via the Telegram group. But yeah, let's move on to other pairs. All right, now we're on our second pair for the week, which is USDCAD, right? Just to keep you up to date with what's going on in this pair, reaching this level right here. Now, as you can see right here, the market has also created liquidity with these equal highs right here. So the market has incentive to grab this liquidity and tap into the zone, right? Another thing, as you can see clearly, the market has been breaking highs as well as creating new lows or higher lows, right? This is our new high, this is our high low. So clearly the market is going towards the upside because that's the overall direction. Now that we're clear on that, let's look at where we are in terms of the supply and demand curve. Now, there's a more mechanical way of calculating the supply and demand curve, of which I covered in one of my videos, which I'll leave in the description box below. But this is one of the easiest way to calculate it. Now, the blue zone right here represents the buy zone, and the green zone represents the sell zone, right? As you can see, we're fairly in the buy zone, right? So we have multiple confirmations that price will be going towards the upside, especially on the main time frame. On the smaller time frame, you'll see that price has been breaking structures and moving slowly towards the upside, right? Now, if we look at what's happening on the weekly, we have a fair value gap here, and the market has incentive to fill in that gap and then tap into that supply zone. Now, that supply zone, we'll talk about it when the time comes, but it's a low probability zone because it has a lot of basing candlesticks. So eventually the market has incentive to break through it, right? Right now, as you can see, price has been struggling to move towards the upside, but we currently broke through structures, especially here. Price is slowly pushing towards the upside, and there's currently no gap. Well, the gap is here. The market, first of all, can try to fill it before moving towards the upside, or the market can simply ignore it, right? There's also this liquidity over here that the market can tap into. So this is the first scenario, the market tapping this liquidity and then retesting the zone, moving towards the upside. The second scenario is just us going up. I'll use a different color, right? Those are the two scenarios. Now, I always say that we should expect a weekly cycle, right? Meaning, when the market opens here, I expect it to fetch liquidity from either this low here or this high here before moving into the direction that it wants to go. You get what I mean? If the sentiment for next week is bearish, then I expect the market to tap into at least orders right here or a daily high take that out, especially during Monday, and then move towards the downside. If the intention or the plan of the market makers for this week is to go towards the upside, then I expect them to take out either this previous weekly low or this swing low, internal swing low, and tap into the zone before moving towards the upside. Now, the daily and the 4-hour is the one that's going to show us where exactly we can expect market makers to move, right? Right now, the valid zones are this one. So the market can either take out these equal lows right here and tap in and fill in this fair value gap right here, and then use the daily zone to move towards the upside. Or the market can take out these equal lows right here, fill in this fair value gap, and then use that to move towards the upside. Now, as you can see, the one that's lower gives us a higher risk to reward. You get what I mean? So that's where these are the two scenarios that I'm expecting, right? These are two scenarios, especially if we look at what we saw on the weekly. So let's just wait for the market to open and show us and give us valid opportunities. If we do get a retest and the market is showing us signs that it's reversing from this point over here, I'd like to see a change of character, especially on the lower time frame, before I take the position. But here, I'm more than happy to leave it with a buy limit. So yeah, let's move on to our final pair for the week. It's been in a long-term downtrend on the zone over here. But as you can see, there hasn't been a strong departure on the zone, which means there's congested price action on that zone, which means if the market is breaking through that zone, we can only take profit on this area of liquidity over here. This high broke this low, and so this high was confirmed. That's why I labeled it as strong high. Now, let's look at where the market is, right? If we're looking at this range right here, we're in a fairly biased territory. Now, if you look at these lows or this highs over here that are formed internally, the market has incentive to take out this liquidity in order to fill in this gap over here. You get what I mean? So if we look at the daily, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. We have this fair value gap that hasn't been filled. We have this fairly equal highs, which are areas of liquidity. We have this induction. I already talked about how you can identify an induction. And then you can see that we have a fair value gap as well as the daily zone here. So the opportunity is we can buy, right? Well, not buy, do not buy, sorry, do not buy. It's a low probability trade, but you can expect a push towards the upside to tap into the zone over here and then a drop. This is what I'm expecting on Nasdaq. I think it's a simple setup. I think it has high probabilities, and we'll just have to wait and see how the market responds to this analysis. But yeah, this is all I have for you guys this week. Hope you guys have a blessed week. See you guys soon. Peace.